Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Artemis, and my music project is called SOMNITECT. I am a music producer, DJ, based in New York City. I come from the country state of North Carolina. And I'm doing this stream as part of an ongoing series that I want to do, where I'm talking about my music, some of the things that go into my music, my background, and some of the things that I have planned in the future. So what I'd like to do is just sort of give you a quick rundown of who I am. I have a really cool live performance I want to play for you, and then I also have some music of mine, music videos that I've done in the past that I'm going to also play. So like I said, my name is Artemis Walls. I am a digital media consultant, filmmaker, videographer, photographer, sort of a polymath of sorts. I went to school in North Carolina, the University of North Carolina, Wilmington, and my background is specifically film. I studied film in college. I do lots of video editing and stuff like that in my spare time. And music for me has been kind of a journey from when I was a child, figuring out what it is I wanted to do. I always knew that I was kind of a creative, or I wanted to do creative things, and figuring out that I was going to become a musician is something that happened later on. So the first thing that happened to me that kind of brought the idea of SOMNITECT in this project was when I was a kid. There's this episode of The Jetsons. It's one of my favorite episodes. It's where Elroy, the son, is about to go to sleep, and the mother, Judy, she comes in and she asks him, hey, what kind of dream do you want to have? And she has this really cool machine called like the Dream-O-Matic. I posted it on Instagram. And on there's like all these lists of dreams and stuff like that he would have. And he said, Rocket Ranger. I want to have like the Rocket Ranger dream. So she hits the button and she leaves. It was a like really quick moment in this silly cartoon. But for years after that, that stuck with me. Like elementary school, middle school, this idea of, could we ever live in a future where we could control dreams, where we could come up with dreams, program them, and somehow share them with each other? I remember as a kid thinking that my biggest wish I ever had was that there would one day be a role in society of someone who that was their job. They were a dream designer. They were sort of a fusion between a writer, a architect, a tech person, all roped into one. And so I started coming up with what that word would be, what this role would be. And early on, I came across the Latin word somnium, which is the Latin word for to sleep, to dream, kind of sort of rolled in one. And then obviously the word architect, someone who like builds something. And so I put the two words together, and I came up with the word SOMNITECT. It wasn't a music thing at first, though. The first thing that it sort of was this idea for a story or this sort of a universe. I tried for years writing this sort of novelization of this world, sort of, what the rules are, how does it work? And so what I basically came up with was this idea of dream space, where there's this, instead of just falling asleep and we have our own experiences in our head when we're asleep, what we have is a centralized place, a dimension that you can only access through your subconscious, and that there were certain people who you could learn how to do this, could go into dream space fully aware, change what's around, change what it looks like, change the emotions, share with people, and then everyone can sort of like what the internet has become for us now, but in sort of a dreamland. So that universe is called dream space. So as I was going through film school, I was obviously studying to, figure out what kind of movies I wanted to make. I was dabbling in the internet. I dabbled in YouTube for a while. I worked on just everything I possibly could, digital media. I built websites, all of that stuff that kind of helps me now as a consultant, help companies, businesses, individuals who come to me and they basically say, I have this idea for this YouTube channel or this podcast or this website, this graphic, I don't know how to make it. How do you make it? And my job is to either show them how to do it or do it for them. I've always been sort of a polymath by training and by necessity. So when you study film and stuff like that, you can have all the dreams you want, you can have all the ideas you want, big production, big budget, but the reality of it is that when you're starting out, it's really just you and the people that you know, and can you work with them. So I had to learn very early on how to function in a world where I had to do most of the stuff myself and get other people to help me. So becoming a polymath wasn't a choice. You didn't have a choice. Your choice was give up or just go to YouTube, go to Google and learn how to do certain things yourself. So after I graduated film school, I took a few years to really study different stuff like graphics, editing, animation, all that kind of stuff that I thought would somehow fit together in something. Like if I decided to do a short film or I decided to do a music project that I could. Around 25, I sort of decided that, I had really loved music up until that point. Whenever I studied a certain movie that I liked, I was also equally interested in the composer. I love Hans Zimmer, love Brian Tyler, love these sound scores of these movies, because when you listen to them, it sort of gave you the feeling of the movie again. The DNA between the movie and the film were sort of one. So I started dabbling in music again. I mean, I had always dabbled in it, making film scores for my animations. I did a short film called Yuri, where I did all of the orchestration myself. But at about 25, I decided, I'm really going to sit down, learn how to use my music software and try to make something out of it. So with the help of my friend, Chris Vickery, who is in the performance that you'll see in a minute, he helped me learn how to translate the skills I had in video editing, non-linear editing, pre-composing, like stuff that made video editing and made me a decent video editor. He helped me translate it into Logic Pro, which is the software I currently use to make music. And over the next couple of years after that, I just started making just a lot of stuff. My files probably have hundreds of songs. Some never released, some abandoned, some taken and made in something else, some of them fused together. And it was me trying to figure out not only my sound, but what the sound of this universe is. And then I started my SoundCloud and I started making music under the heading SOMNITECT. This idea of being someone who would not only make the music, but sort of make the universe that's wrapped into it, whether that's visuals, whether it's short films, a visual album. So SOMNITECT is less about who I am, and it's more about this project, this universe that I'm working on. And I've been doing it ever since. And I love it because what ends up happening is I have clients or I'll work on projects for me, and a lot of it will translate. Like one project I'll learn how to do audio compression or EQing a lot better, and then at night I'll go home and I'll try it out on this music project, which I really love. So that's kind of a bit about me. So without further ado, I want to share with you a really cool song that I worked on when I was 25, when my friend Chris was teaching me. I came over to his house. I said, hey man, let's make something. And so we made this song, and I sort of tinkered with it over the years, and I'm finally excited to be able to share it with you. And what's great about it is he was actually able to provide his performance for it. So here it is. It's called Midtown, and I think you're really going to like it. Yeah, so that was Midtown. I hope you liked it. So yeah, that song was pretty cool. It was originally called something else, and it was originally like a couple of different pieces mixed together. You probably heard the breakdown, the dubstep breakdown later on was part of another project that it fit in with this one. It all just kind of came together nice, and Christopher Vickery is awesome. He's sort of the guy that taught me basically everything I know about Logic. We've been friends since college, actually. We grew up like in the same town, like 2 towns over. And in college during freshman seminar, I made like a passing reference to my hometown. And afterwards he's like, dude, like, I think we lived like 10 minutes from each other. And so like for 4 years in school, we would just be working on projects together. He did mostly music, scoring and comm studies, and I did film, but like the way that we sort of bounced between the 2 departments working on different projects. So awesome guy. All of his stuff's in the description below. So yeah, I am really excited about doing this stream because one of the things that, as I'm sure everyone knows, is that these days it's tough to really go out because we obviously have a pandemic going on right now. So it's tough for us to be indoors and still like connect with people. And one thing that I really want to make sure that I do is create things that not only help me get through all of this stuff, but also, you know, if there's other musicians out there who are at my kind of starting point, because I'm very new at all this stuff, I think it would help for them to see that I'm also like figuring this stuff out. Like a lot of the plugins I use, like I'm still learning how to use them. I'm still learning how to master. I'm still learning how to like video edit and stuff like that. It's always refreshing for me to go onto YouTube and stuff like that and see people working on stuff and actually working through it. Not, hey, here's everything perfect, but here's me trying to work on something, and here's me, you know, struggling with it and figuring it out. So anyway, that's kind of what I want to do with this stream going forward. And my goal is that towards the end of this year, I really want to do, I've been thinking about this idea of like a virtual whole show, like sort of like what you saw in Midtown, where it's sort of a live performance, but it's also got like graphics and stuff edited together that you could fully experience online. So the main thing that I'm going to be working on over the next couple of months is putting that together, figuring out exactly what songs of mine from my catalog that I've made that I want to put together and really tell this story not only about SOMNITECT, but of this idea of dream space, of this collective experience of just kind of mixing together everything I've been like thinking about for years about this universe and the rules that it sort of follows. So that's kind of what I'm going to be working on. So let me just show you I'm going to show you my sound. I'm on SoundCloud right now. I'm working on mastering a lot of stuff to get it on iTunes and Spotify and stuff like that. So let me just show you some of my catalog here. Let me just go to, sorry, still learning how to do this. There we go, stream. So here is my SoundCloud page. Most of the time, you know, there's this idea of when you first start making music or first start doing anything is you have to be like perfect. I remember in college, I would always obsess over musicians who just sort of appeared and everything was perfect and everything was crisp and clean and wonderful. But as a video editor who's been messing up stuff for years and re-editing, I really tried to evolve myself, especially in videos and film, to have this idea that you can start over, or even if something took a lot of effort and you love it a lot, get rid of it if it doesn't work. So what I've been doing with my music is I've uploaded a lot of stuff, I've taken a lot of stuff down, I've changed a lot of stuff, I'm constantly tweaking stuff. One of the things that I really like about especially artists like Kanye West is he has this idea of albums are no longer you make it and it's done. They're this living thing that you can adjust, that sort of change over time. And I really think with the age of the internet and with the age of like the fluidity of digital media and stuff like that, I think that's kind of where we're headed, where stuff can constantly change, and what it was a year ago is not what it will be a year from now. So my music as of right now, this is kind of what it looks like. So let me just take you through my first couple of, to give you just a little quick backstory. And then I'll play some more music for you. So the first album I did was an EP. I believe it was like it says 1 year ago, but that's not quite correct. It was like, I started working on it 2018-ish. So I was at a point where I was using Logic Pro 9, which is pretty awesome. I mean, it was great, straightforward. It's what got me through film school. But I finally upgraded to Logic Pro X because I had seen enough videos where I'm like, okay, synthesizers, electronic music. I know what I want to do is in that sphere, so let me download that. And then I got into Native Instruments, which, if you don't know, Native Instruments basically is a company that makes hardware like Machine, these really good sequencing hardware machines, but they also make software versions. And I like hardware. I'm learning to get better with hardware, but as I've been editing videos and stuff like that like my whole life. So I'm really well versed in figuring out software and adapting to it pretty quickly. So I downloaded all of that. So what this first EP was, it was called Designer Dreams. It was just 5 songs of just me basically trying to figure out how to use Native Instruments. And I was really inspired by bands, projects like Odessa. Their first album, Summer's Gone, I must have listened to that thing like 2 months in a row, because that was the first time that my taste kind of shifted. Because up to that point, I listened to hardcore house, techno, the classics, Armin van Buuren, Deadmau5, that stuff like that. That was the first time that I was presented an electronic project that, much like I was trying to go for, was a little more orchestrated, was kind of like a film score, had a little more breath to it, was a little more open. And the way that they use samples, specifically in the song How Did I Get Here, which is sampled from the Lily Allen song, I believe 22. I liked how they stretched the vocals to make something completely different. So after I downloaded Native Instruments and I downloaded Battery, which is basically the software version of Machine, I started tweaking with it. So I had songs like Bizarre, this one right here, which I won't play it, but it's all on my SoundCloud. You can check it out. I'll put a link in the description. Bizarre took one of my favorite acts, Owl City, and it took Fireflies, and it took specifically the phrase where he says, when my dreams get real bizarre, and it stretches it in a way where, just like with Odessa's How Did I Get Here, it kind of changed the meaning of the song. Suddenly, it was about just strangity. This is bizarre. And I tried to work in like orchestrated music, like a little bit of dubstep, and for the first time, acoustic drums, which I was like deathly afraid of, because like electronic music, everything I know has like synthesized electronic drums, and that was the first time I was like, no, you could do acoustic drums, it's fine. Refraction, which is the song you hear during my countdown. There's 3 minutes left. That song is called Refraction. That was the first time that I tried EQing different synthesizers to play multiple ones together. Before then, I would just play one synthesizer and a bass track and the drum, and like that was it. Whatever happened, happened. I had a project back in the day called Ghost of Servos, which I'll probably share with you at some point. It was that. It was no EQing. It was very simple, but it was me trying to figure out how to use Logic. So Refraction was the first time I ever did multiple synthesizers, so that was exciting. I had a song called The Retina. Now, I, with my film background, I try to work that into my music as much as possible. So when you go through film school, my favorite question is that people find out I have a film degree. They're like, oh, what's your favorite movie? Like, did you see this movie that came out last year? And the truth of the matter is usually you have 2 kinds of film schools. You have film schools that teach you 100% technical aspects, how to use a camera, how to use a tripod, how to develop film, et cetera, et cetera. On the other side, you have theoretical film schools that talk about the language of filmmaking, the history of filmmaking, the filmmakers that sort of pioneered, changed the idea of filmography versus film, like historiography, which is still a crazy concept to me. So anyway, you have to go through a lot of stuff. Like you have to watch Italian neorealism films, Fresh Impressionist films, like from every kind of decade. So you watch a lot of stuff. So one thing I tried to work into this album was this idea that even at the time, I'm still learning it, but SOMNITECT was a fusion between film and music. Like SOMNITECT isn't a person, it's kind of a universe. And there are certain movies that play well into the universe that it acknowledges. So the song The Retina took a clip, I'll have to share that clip too, took a clip from a classic movie called Dreams That Money Can Buy. I think I'm saying that right. I'll look it up and put it in the description. But it's basically a movie. There was sort of a group of short films batched together, and the idea was that like this guy had suddenly uncovered the ability to sell dreams to people. And the narrator talking to him goes on this monologue of like, do you know what that means? Like, you can sell dreams to people. Like, you're not just a you're not just a deadbeat, like you're an artist. Like it was a really cool clip that resonated, and I discovered it. I had like rediscovered it right when I started doing this album. So I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. And rather than trying to think about like, oh, how does that play into it, etc., I just kind of went with it. I had a song called Tortola. I took an awesome trip with a bunch of friends one summer to Tortola, and the idea of waves and like how it felt to be out there in these like in the British Virgin Islands, of like all this like ocean and like blue water and sandy, and like we would sail back on the boat back to the villa that we were staying at, and just that idea of like open but like still strong. I tried to capture that. Came out pretty well. Then Tiger Lights, which was sort of a across the horizon, heavy beat, heavy acoustic drums, synth song. So the album together, Designer Dreams for me represents just a punctuation mark in the SOMNITECT brand. Like, okay, here we are. This is sort of the vibe. These are some of the things we want to investigate and play with. And that's what it kind of means to me. And in fact, you can sort of, now that I'm looking at it, I can see kind of the seeds of future albums. Like Tortola would eventually feed into an album I just worked on called Pamlico, which is more beachy stuff. Bizarre, I would get more into sampling later on once I figured out time stretching, which was the biggest thing for me. So there's that. So rather than ramble on, I'm going to play some more music for you. So this is a song that I really like called Bright Shadows. It was inspired by a couple of friends of mine who decided to, well, what they did was they decided that whenever they were in a group place and they were doing something they didn't want to do, and one of them kind of wanted to get out of here and like go do something else or whatever, they would say the phrase bright shadows, which meant nothing. But the other person would know like, hey, like I'm trying to get out of here. And it was just kind of a cool, subtle. And so that kind of stuck with me because I started thinking like, oh, that's really cool. Like this idea of like, let's get out of here. Like there's something like take me away from here. Like get me out of here because I know there's something else out there that we would both enjoy. So I played with that. That was the main lyric for it. And I just kind of played with a bunch of sounds. So here it is. And here's the music video for it. Hope you enjoy. yeah, so that was Bright Shadows. I really liked the music video. It came out good. So the way that I shot that was I had just moved up to New York, and I had my iPhone 7 Plus? Yeah, iPhone 7 Plus, which shoots in 4K. A lot of people don't know that. It's awesome. And I had the Smooth Q gimbal. And so I just left the apartment, and I took the 1 train and the A train downtown. Oh, sorry about that. I don't know why the sound wasn't working. Anyway, so yeah, I shot that video in New York. I took the iPhone and I got on the 1 train and the A train, and I went downtown, then I went back up, and I just gathered a bunch of footage. Like anything that was structural, that had contrast, that was the big thing. It was sort of industrial, a little bit of organic. And then I took all the footage, threw it into After Effects, and after I sequenced the shots together, I would take every shot and be like, all right, how can I destroy this footage? This was during the time when I was getting back into Porter Robinson, his virtual self project, and how he was distorting stuff, and I thought that was cool. So I started playing around with similar stuff using like chroma, distortion, luma keys, just things to try to rip footage apart. I was putting noise and grain on things because it's one of the things you learn in like film studies, especially during the digital age, is that the better our technology gets, the more clear everything is, and clear is not always better. The reason there's so many people that still opt to do like raw, like a film and develop film, is because there's kind of a cool look to being grain and imperfect. You know, everything doesn't need to be HD. So it was fun trying to take HD footage and then destroy it essentially. So music video came out really good. So I got one more music video for you. It is the Little Talks remix, the song Little Talks by Monsters of Men. So right before I moved to New York, it was a year and a couple months ago, we went out to a bar with me, my brother and his girlfriend. We were talking about the idea of me moving to New York. I still was on the fence. And then that song, Little Talks, came on the radio. And I don't know why, but like during the song, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go. Like, why? Let's do it. So it was really cool. And so the week I was packing to leave, I was also working on remixing that song. I was playing with a beat that somehow the two worked together. So I just put them together, and I finished it the day before that I left. So I was using the whole drive up to New York to basically sound check it and make some adjustments like that. So whenever I hear the song, it's kind of like, I think about like moving to New York, like big changes, stuff like that. And I don't know, it was a song that just, it's sometimes so frustrating when you like work on a song or something like that for like weeks or months, or in some cases years, and you can't get it to work. And then you'll play with something in between that, and then it'll just go together. It'll just work. Minimal EQing, minimal compression, minimal mastering, it'll just work. So this is that song. Hope you like it. Thanks again for listening. Here we go. Hey guys, so that was Little Talks remix, done by yours truly. Again, really like that song. It's pretty awesome. So that's pretty much it for my stream. I do want to say thank you guys for watching. I know that, there's lots of stuff on the internet to be doing right now, whether you're watching this live or you're watching the replay. But I appreciate you guys liking, commenting, even just saying, hey, that's pretty sick, or stopping by. I really do appreciate it. So yeah, most of my music is on SoundCloud. I'm constantly adjusting it or tweaking it, but like my best stuff, I do not put stuff I do not believe in, is on SoundCloud. So give it a listen. I'm going to be doing more of these streams going forward, and I really look forward to sharing the process behind building this live set I have an idea for. Animating stuff, breaking down. But yeah, a bunch of links in the description. CJ Vickery, my music, everything I mentioned, I'll put in the description down there. And, thanks. You guys are cool. Be sure to follow me on Instagram. I post stuff on there pretty regularly. I'm working on a website, working on all that stuff, and I'll let you know when I'm doing another stream here. I'd like to get to a fairly consistent schedule, but we'll see how it works. Thanks again, and I'm out. Bye.